Queen Consort Camilla's explosive outburst has not only left her marriage with King Charles teetering on the edge, but also sparked an unprecedented crisis within the monarchy. The normally composed consort, who has spent years navigating the delicate balance of royal expectations, was seen in a rare moment of raw frustration and anger, unleashing a fury that took both her husband and the rest of the royal family by surprise. What began as a simple disagreement between the Queen Consort and her husband over the royal family's precious jewels quickly spiraled into a full-blown confrontation, one that revealed cracks in the carefully constructed facade of unity within the monarchy. The trigger for the outburst was a request made by Camilla, one that many insiders had considered audacious and unacceptable. She demanded to pass down the Queen's jewelry and her own royal income to the children of her ex-husband, a move so shocking that it left King Charles, who had long indulged his wife's whims, stunned into silence. Charles' refusal to comply with his wife's demand was swift and firm. His response, a stark rejection of Camilla's audacious proposal, not only set the stage for a bitter confrontation between the two, but also raised serious questions about their relationship. For years, the public had seen Camilla as the stabilizing force in Charles' life. Yet this emotional outburst revealed the underlying tension and frustration that had been simmering for years, and it was no longer just a personal matter. It had become a matter of royal duty, tradition and legacy. King Charles, known for his measured demeanor, found himself in an impossible position. Despite years of supporting his wife's actions and indulgences, there was no turning back this time. The jewels were not hers to dispose of as she pleased. They were a legacy of the monarchy, passed down through generations, and their fate was not to be decided by any one individual. Camilla, however, in the throes of her deteriorating health and rising bitterness, could not accept this reality. Her refusal to back down only escalated the situation, setting the stage for a fierce clash that would leave everyone in the royal household on edge. The royal family, which had always prided itself on its ability to present a united front, now found themselves witnessing a personal dispute of unprecedented proportions. Things only got worse from there. As Charles stood firm in his position, Camilla's anger grew. Her outburst reached a fever pitch, and for the first time in their marriage, Charles was forced to draw a hard line. The tension in the room was palpable, and even as Camilla's frustration boiled over, King Charles remained resolute, refusing to yield. But his resolve only seemed to fuel her bitterness, as she began to question her own role in the royal family and what she had been denied as Queen Consort. With the situation spiraling out of control, King Charles had no choice but to call for help. Enter Princess Anne, the one family member known for her no-nonsense approach and unwavering commitment to royal traditions. Always seen as a voice of reason in times of crisis, she was brought in to mediate the growing conflict. But even Anne, with her direct and often blunt manner, found herself at odds with Camilla's outburst. When she arrived at the scene expecting to calm the tension, the situation only became more explosive. Camilla, who had already felt her authority slipping, now found herself cornered by Anne's firm warnings. Princess Anne made it clear that Camilla's behavior was not only unacceptable, but also completely contrary to the expectations of the royal family. She reminded her sister-in-law that there were boundaries, traditions, that could not be ignored no matter how frustrated or upset she might be. But far from calming the storm, Anne's intervention only deepened Camilla's sense of isolation. For Camilla, it wasn't just about the jewels anymore, it was about control, authority, and her place in the royal family. Her attempt to make her own decisions had been rejected, and now, with Anne's intervention, she felt as though the entire royal household was conspiring to undermine her. As tensions reached a boiling point, it became clear that this wasn't just a passing disagreement. The rift between Camilla and the royal family had widened, and the stakes had never been higher. The once united royal household was now divided. Charles was forced to choose between loyalty to his wife and loyalty to the monarchy. Princess Anne, on the other hand, found herself caught in the middle, trying to uphold the family's traditions while maintaining her own sense of duty. But even as Camilla's frustration and bitterness became more apparent, the royal family began to realize that the situation was more than just a personal matter. It was a crisis that threatened the very foundation of the monarchy. As the crisis unfolded behind closed doors, the rest of the royal family began to question how they would move forward. Could Camilla ever reclaim her role as queen consort? Would the rift between her and Charles continue to deepen, or could they find a way to rebuild their relationship? The media, too, began to pick up on the tension, with every new detail of the conflict fueling public speculation. The monarchy, once seen as a symbol of stability, now appeared vulnerable, fractured by personal conflict and the pressures of modernity. The public watched the drama unfold with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. Once regarded as the picture of royal harmony, the British monarchy now found itself at the center of a media storm, with every new development analyzed and dissected. The royal family's image, once untouchable, was now marred by the ongoing scandal. As the world watched, the royal household was forced to reckon with the very real consequences of Camilla's explosive outburst. But just as it seemed that the monarchy would crumble under the weight of its internal divisions, a surprising shift began to take place. Camilla, perhaps recognizing the magnitude of her actions, began to withdraw from the public eye. The once dominant figure, who had once wielded so much influence within the royal family, now seemed more distant, more resigned. Slowly but surely, she began to retreat from the spotlight, giving the royal family the space they needed to heal. For King Charles, the decision to stand firm in the face of his wife's outburst had been a difficult one, but it was one that ultimately showed his commitment to the monarchy above all else. As tensions began to cool, Charles and Camilla began the long process of reconciliation. While their relationship would never be the same, they both understood the importance of preserving the monarchy's stability, no matter the personal cost. The crisis may have subsided, but the damage was done. The royal family, while still intact, would never be the same. What had once seemed like an unbreakable institution, was now a symbol of internal strife and public scrutiny. The events of that fateful day had left a lasting scar on the monarchy, one that would not easily be forgotten. Only time would tell whether the royal family could ever fully recover from the shockwaves caused by Camilla's explosive outburst. As the dust began to settle, the monarchy faced a future that was uncertain, fragile, and ever under the watchful eye of the public. Would they weather this storm, or was this just the beginning of a new era for the royal family, one marked by division, tension, and public scrutiny? The world could only watch and wait. As the months passed, the royal family worked quietly behind closed doors to mend the fractures that had formed during the explosive confrontation between Camilla and King Charles. But despite their efforts, the shadows of that fateful day lingered. The public had caught a glimpse of the raw, unfiltered emotions that had long been concealed behind the polished image of the monarchy, and now the world's gaze was fixed upon them. Every move, every word, every appearance was scrutinized for signs of tension or reconciliation. The media, sensing the vulnerability of the royal family, intensified their coverage. The once bustling palace, once a symbol of grandeur and order, now felt more like a fortress under siege. Rumors swelled about the state of King Charles and Camilla's marriage. Was it irreparably damaged? Would the queen consort ever regain her influence within the royal fold? The monarchy's carefully cultivated image of unity was shattered, and the public was hungry for answers. But even as the royal family worked to regain their footing, a sense of unease continued to hover over them. Princess Anne, who had played a pivotal role in mediating the crisis, found herself increasingly isolated. Though she had tried to be the voice of reason, she couldn't ignore the growing divide between her and Camilla. Despite her best efforts, there was no escaping the reality that the queen consort had never fully embraced her role within the royal family. There were whispers that Camilla's frustration with the monarchy had been festering for years, and the explosive outburst was merely the culmination of a long-simmering resentment. In the wake of the crisis, many in the royal circle began to question whether the monarchy was still capable of adapting to the pressures of the modern world. The once sacred traditions of the royal family now seemed to be at odds with the personal ambitions and desires of its members. Camilla's demand for control over the royal jewels was seen by some as a symbol of the growing tension between the old ways and the new, between the institution of the monarchy and the individuals who had to live within its constraints. King Charles, too, found himself caught in an increasingly difficult position. He had always prided himself on being a man of duty, but now that duty was being tested in ways he had never anticipated. As the head of the monarchy, Charles had to balance his loyalty to the crown with his loyalty to his wife. The choices he made in the aftermath of the confrontation would have far-reaching consequences, not only for his marriage, but for the future of the royal family itself. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the monarchy slowly began to regain its composure. But the scars left by Camilla's explosive outburst would not fade easily. The royal family had been forced to confront its own vulnerabilities, and the public's perception of the monarchy had shifted. Once viewed as an institution beyond reproach, the royal family now seemed more human, more fragile. And as the world waited to see how the monarchy would move forward, one thing was certain: the days of unquestioned royal authority were gone forever. The future of the monarchy had been irrevocably altered by a single, explosive moment.